Right, it's 5 minutes to 4 my time. And I think we should make a start. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Whenever you're ready, please indicate so we can make a start. So Regina is indicating that she's okay for us to make a start. How about the others?
Team Kaweno ready?
Ready.
Right, thank you so much. I am going to start sharing my screen. Okay, it is share my screen. Which one do I want to share? This week 14. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
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 Right. Right, so we're going to make a start. Once again, welcome to week 14. I thank each and every one of you who've made it so far from week 1 up to 14. We have 2 more weeks before we finish off this semester. And before I forget, next week, even though this will be our final week for lecturing or our meetings that have our last topic, next week we will have a revision week, which is simply to go through all the topics that we have covered so far. And then in week 16, if I will not forget, remind me next week, somebody, that in week 16, I would like to invite you for our session. If you can bring, it's sort of like an experiment that I haven't done it before. If you can bring a glass of drink and just a small, maybe for example, the Kawinu people can bring a plate of refreshment to your session. We're going to do an experiment on week 16, which will be the 20th. Today is the 12th, so 12th, the next session will be the 19th, and the next one will be the 26th, if I'm correct. So our last session will be on the 26th of this month. Otherwise, welcome once again, and I hope you have downloaded the same exact copy of this slide that I have uploaded without adding any completion and restriction to it. It's in week 14. So far, as of yesterday, we have 20 forums, and it is important that you try your utmost best to attend to at least all these 20. Once again, thank you to those who have already about to complete 20 of the forums. So far, they're up to 19 forums, and the last one will be this week. So congratulations if you are going to complete them all by the end of this week. If you are stuck with the forums, do not give up, but make sure that you are giving the same effort that you're putting on forums. Please do so with your assignments as well. And our final assignment should be due on the 29th, but I would rather you complete it on the 28th or the 29th and submit it before the 30th of July. As usual, week 14 content is open, and make sure that you have completed all the other tasks from week 10 up to week 13, which will enable you to move on to week 14. Assignment 3, the research project is due this week. Come Friday, make sure that you submit your assignment, and it is supposed to be submitted in a Dropbox, assignment 3 Dropbox in assessment section in EDPS112 model platform. And just for a reminder, that we are moving closer to the end of the semester, and this is usually a busy month for you teachers, but I just want to remind you of the value of determination. Determination simply means a quality that makes you continue trying to do or achieve something that is difficult. As you can see on the picture on the bottom right-hand corner, there's someone trying to cut off the T in I can't do it. And this is a reminder that when you feel like giving up, just make sure that you remind yourself that I have come this far. I am going to be determined and complete my task, complete my assignment, no matter what, no matter the difficulties that you will be facing. Just make sure that you carry on. So far, assignment 2, the video presentation has already been due, but due to the weather and network connectivity that is poor in certain areas around the country, please make sure that you submit it, because I only have your PowerPoint slides, and if I'm going to mark it against you, it will end you less marks. So try your best to make sure that you submit your video presentation. So as keep reminding you that assignment 3 is due this week, and the last assignment, the reflective essay, is due on the 29th of July, and use the appropriate Dropbox. Moving on, this is just a reminder that your assignment, which is due this week, it's about comparing and contrasting 2 concepts and discussing the implications for classroom teachers and students in Vanuatu. 1 or 2 of your cohort have called to us, can I choose the 2 subtopics from the same major topic? Well, it is okay, but the thing is more or less as if you're just comparing the same concept. Whereas if you choose from 2 different major topics, it will give you more space or creativity in describing what is their similarities, what are their differences, what are their advantages and disadvantages, and so forth. So it's just a reminder, but I'm sure that you have already worked on it and you are ready to, this week you should be editing your work, ready to submit on Thursday or Friday this week. Moving on, today I will start introducing the last assignment, which is the reflective essay. Now, what is this reflective essay about? Is to enable the students to develop statements of their beliefs about teaching to use as a guide throughout their teaching career. You as a practicing or an experienced teacher, reflect on your philosophy or your beliefs about teaching and learning. What is it that is about teaching and learning? So it is due in week 16, Friday the 29th of July. It is worth 55 raw marks and it will carry 30% of your grade. It is an essay and the length is only 1,000 words. So it should be okay for you to do. Now, what are the specific tasks that we are asking you to do? You're going to reflect on all the 5 theories of teaching and learning that we have looked at. And then you explain your understanding of these theories. What do they inform you about your philosophy or your beliefs about teaching and learning? So you explain your motivation as a teacher. What motivates you to become a teacher? Was it your parents? Was it coming from you? Is it an intrinsic or is it an extrinsic motivation? Now, in the new trends of teaching that we are moving away from teacher-centered to student-centered, I'm talking about Part B, justify how the new trends in the teaching profession is preparing you to meet the current demands of teaching in the classroom. Last week, we looked at the list of new ways of teaching or new styles or methods of teaching. So you justify why do we need this? Why should we adapt to new changes? C, outline at least 2 projected teaching goals, methods and strategies you believe are most appropriate and relevant in your teaching career and explain why. So out of all the teaching goals or strategies series that we have looked at, choose at least 2 and talk about why do you think they're important in this age and time? And how helpful will they be in our context of Vanuatu? And D, discuss your personal goals that you have set for yourself as a teacher and explain why you choose those goals. Okay, your goal as a teacher, maybe you want to move on to become a principal, or you want to move on in your career to become a teacher trainer, or you want to move on to be something else, but that is your personal thinking that will conclude your essay. So basically what you're doing is you start off by explaining what motivates you to become a teacher. Then you look at the theories that we have looked at from major topic 1 to major topic 5. Then you choose the teaching strategies which you think that if you use in this age and time, it will allow the students to become more independent learners. But you must make sure you explain the reason why you chose those teaching methods. And then finally, you need to explain your personal goals, that you want to move on from a certificate to a diploma to a bachelor to a master's or whatever, or you want to move on to something else, but still to do or in relation to teaching. So what does a good teacher, or what is good teaching and learning to you? So use the theories that we have looked at to help you in order to accomplish this. And remember, it's only 1,000 words. So there should be about 3 to 4 or 5 pages maximum. Otherwise, that is the beginning of introduction to the final assignment. If you have any questions, we have a forum specifically for this assessment that only 1 or 2 people are making use of. I would like to encourage people to go and raise their questions there, because your question will not only help yourself, but others as well. And do not hesitate to call me or inbox me or text me to ask for help. I would rather you do so before it's last minute. And that is to do with assignment number 1, part 2, which is the last part of reflective journal. Right, so we move on to our final topic for this week, which is major topic 5, reflective practitioner, and we have only 2 subtopics: effective lesson planning that we looked at last week. And I'm impressed with people who have already posted in the forum about what exactly is effective teaching planning. It is showing that you are achieving the topic by being a reflective practitioner. When you admit that you weakness and you come to realize what is effective lesson planning, that is a trait of a reflective practitioner. And today we ended by the management of learning. Management of learning can be also interpreted as management of classroom, and everything that goes on during your teaching and learning time is called the management of learning. Right, management of learning. What are we supposed to achieve by end of this session? By end of this week, we are or should be able to explain learning management through constructive feedbacks, instructions, explanation skills, asking questions, and motivating students. B, use effective classroom management strategies to create a constructive environment to teaching and learning. Show appreciation of concepts and theories in managing effective instructional planning. Participate effectively with peers in managing different learning processes. So, just as we looked at last week, effective lesson planning and effective classroom management techniques go hand in hand in successful and productive teaching and learning process. They are skills that must be researched, structured to your individual style, implemented in a teaching or learning situation, and constantly evaluated and refined when necessary, meaning they need changes. Consistency is of the utmost importance in the implementation of a classroom management plan. So a lesson cannot be effective if our classroom management strategies are not up to standard with the lesson planning as well. So what is management of learning? Management of learning are different from teachers or instructors. They are people who as individuals, they're not as a group or they're not as a class. And they know how to manage other people or to make sure that things are working efficiently. So management of learning has 4 steps. You are guided discovery. You want to find out what is happening. You are carrying out teaching and learning. You are applying. You are evaluating as well. And what is important is we are improving skills, attitudes, and knowledge. So all these 3 go together in the management of learning. We want attitudes to change, we want skills to develop, and we want knowledge to be acquired. So if you look at it in form of a human being, we are developing a holistic person. The head, their heart, and their hands, what they can do. So in management of learning, it's just not only about controlling the attitudes, but it's developing the skills, because what we want may not be the same as what other people want. But more importantly, it's the attitude. Attitudes are the most important and the most difficult to acquire. Often, a new attitude must replace an old attitude before skills or knowledge can be used. And the manager of learning must be able to detect this situation and know how to effect the change. Counseling techniques are often used to enable a learner to see a need for change, a change in his attitude, and accept the help you or members of his patrol or your class and others can give him or her. So elements of management of learning. When we talk about classroom management or management of learning, these are some of the aspects that we are talking about. It is when we are giving instructions, when we are giving explanation skills, we are giving constructive feedbacks, we are asking questions, we're motivating students, we are monitoring students' movements and behaviors. Over here, I have put pre, it means before our lessons begin, how do we prepare our students' movement and their behavior? During our teaching and learning or during the lesson, where do we expect them to be? And after the lesson, how do we want them to behave? Do we want the change to happen in their attitude, in the skills, in their knowledge? It is important that we monitor the students and also ourselves as well. How do we manage our resources? How do we manage our times on task? Keeping logs of incidents occurring in class and solutions. So many times we ignore this, but even the minor things that happen in class, or today, Anna fell sick and had to send her home, or today, Tom came in with a cake to share with the rest of the class. So incidents that they are not planned, but they're part of learning, we need to take care of them. So that even if in the future an incident happened where you're taken to court or whatever, but you already have a log of incident and how you dealt with them, especially to do with unwanted behavior. J, informing administration and sharing good management of learning practices. When we are carrying out effective management styles, sometimes it is good to share with the admin and also in our staff room as well, and learn from others as well. How are they handling students in their own classrooms? And more importantly, we want to involve the parent and the guidance and the caregivers, especially for those with special needs, that the caregivers must be present in our classroom. How do we make them feel part of the classroom management? Parents, we need to learn from them that how does this child behave in their home environment, or from previous teachers before they come in, or from guidance as well. How does the child behave? The benefits of classroom management and learning. 1, it helps manage your students better. It helps you plan for any days and emergencies. It can be molded and adapted according to different teachers. It makes allowances for all kinds of students. It can be used to create fun and unique activities. If implemented well, it makes life easier. Once you create a routine and your students know that I am supposed to come in at 7:30 or 7:45, unpack my stuff, go and sit down and wait for the teacher, or I have a task to do, I have a play corner, then it makes life easier for you not to keep repeating yourself over 100 times, even before you start your lesson. And also for safety reasons, you know where things are, and especially if you are painting or doing other stuff or using classes or whatnot that might be endangering you and the students, planning in advance and having good classroom management skills, you know exactly where to put things away safely. Positive classroom environment building. Greeting your students, saying good morning to them by their first name goes a long way. Smiling at your students, making them feel welcome. When they feel welcome, they know that this is a caring classroom where everybody can find a place so that they can learn. And then you will have more teaching time instead of spending most of the time talking about a behavior that occurred probably an hour or before yesterday or last week. And you're building relationship. Teachers someone have just shared today that even though she is retired, but wherever she goes, she's still addressed as a Mrs. or Madam or Miss. So building relationship does not only come because of the job we're doing, but it is part of classroom management. Once we become friendly and we build a mutual respect between our students, no matter how young they are, they will value and take with them for a long time. And also, more importantly, preparation for life outside in society or the workforce. Once they see that you are a person who's organized, it is modeling that they will take with them. They go home. They will take your word more than their parents telling them to clean up, because they have seen their teacher modeling how to organize their classroom. They will take with them to their homes and do the same thing. Now, what are the classroom management styles that we have? Just like we have teaching styles, we have learning styles, we also have classroom management style. According to Diane Monrit, 1960s, she found out that there are 4 ways of parenting styles. What you're looking at the screen, they're originally what we call parenting style. But because the classroom is more or less the same as management becomes more or less like parenting, the same concept or strategies are applied as well. And she identified 3, and then in 1966, through research, another 4th was added. So we have authoritarian, we have authoritative, we have permissive, and we have indulgent. Authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and indulgent. Now, just by looking at the first 2, you know, and you can actually figure out what do they mean if a parent is authoritarian or a teacher is authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and indulgent. Let's look at them in detail. Right, so when we look at all 4, we can start thinking about how can I use this? But bear in mind, when it comes to effective teaching, it is important to create a learning environment where students will feel safe, they are known, and they are motivated to learn. And as a teacher, a large part of establishing such learning environment is depending on your ability to maintain control over your classroom. That's where classroom management comes in. The classroom management approach that you choose to use in your classroom has a direct impact on your effectiveness as a teacher. But how do you know which approach is best for you and your students? Let's take a look at the 4 different types of classroom management styles and how they each impact student outcomes. And just a reminder, sometimes we as teachers, the way we control our homes is exactly how we're doing it in the classroom. Question is, are we doing it right? How can we do it better? And how can students feel safe They feel that they're part of the room and they're motivated to learn. Moving on, we look at the first one, authoritarian. In the authoritarian, what are the qualities that the teacher, the characteristic that the teacher is showing? The teaching style refers to a teacher who has complete control over the classroom. They create a highly structured learning environment with a strong emphasis on rules. The first thing you walk in, you see classroom rules. They expect undisputed compliance from their students, and they do not tolerate inappropriate behavior in the classroom. If students don't behave exactly as expected, then they are strictly punished, regardless of their circumstances. Okay, maybe William was screaming because his mom is walking past the classroom, but the teacher is going to punish him just because he is screaming. The second one, in addition, teachers who are taught an authoritarian classroom management style tend to have a low level of involvement with their students. Okay, this is reading time, this is writing time. They avoid seeking out opportunities to make connections and know very little about their students' life. As a result, children in this classroom, they feel intimidated. They are afraid of making mistakes. They are distrusting and they distance themselves from their teachers, making it difficult for them to learn because they are always in fear. And the last one, as authoritarian teachers, they prefer a quiet, structured learning environment. They often offer direct instruction rather than cooperative learning strategies. And they expect students to simply absorb the information rather than play a role in constructing their knowledge. Teachers with an authoritarian teaching style do not encourage collaboration or active participation, so discussions, and it often results in poor classroom culture and an uninspiring learning environment. I hope none of them is listening. Authoritative, as the name sounds familiar, teachers are very different. And this one here is very different for authoritarian. Their learning style, they have a high level of control of the classroom, but they also have a high level of student involvement. They are firm, but they are also fair. If they remove the break time, playtime, they explain why they give it. They are taking it back. They set up rules, consistently enforce them, but they also value the students' input. When students are not happy about the punishment, they're willing to listen. If a student has a feedback regarding class rules or ideas to improve the learning environment, the teacher will graciously accept the suggestions and make changes as they see fit. This type of teacher, they expect the students to participate and they collaborate while respecting the rules. Okay, there's time to be noisy, there's time not to be noisy. An authoritative teacher encourages students to engage in class in active discussion, work together, but they communicate their expectations clearly before sending students off on their own. So by giving students guidelines as well as the freedom to take ownership of their learning, the authoritative teacher approaches fosters autonomy and a strong sense of responsibility. So they become very good facilitators while they allow the students to work. In addition, their teaching style are invested in the success of their students. Unlike authoritarian teachers who put the blame entirely on their students when they do not achieve desired outcomes, authoritative teachers, they examine all contributing factors. They care about the students' home lives and understanding of challenges both inside and outside of the classroom. And the last point, authoritative teachers consider their students' unique circumstances when setting expectations and determining reasonable consequences for rule breaking. They also consistently provide positive reinforcement for good work, and for those reasons, an authoritative classroom management approach is ideal for both students and teachers. Teachers are respected and liked by their students, and students are socially competent and responsible. Next one, the permissive classroom management style. Permissive teachers are the complete opposite of authoritative teachers. They have low level of both student involvement and control over their classroom. Educators who adopt a permissive teaching style are extremely checked out. They do not plan lessons or activities in advance, and they frequently wing it, relying heavily on movies and bookwork to fill the time. Okay, they just come and say, okay, students, sit down. This is what we're going to do. So it's like there is no routine. Children can do as they want to. So the word wing it means whatever it's there for them, that is what they will use for the day. There is no order, there is no organization. Permissive teachers do not establish rules or punish poor behavior. Students have too much freedom, resulting in disorderly and unproductive learning environment. With a permissive classroom being so punitive and lacking structure, students often take control over it with little to no challenge from the teacher. And the last one, because permissive teachers have lost their passion for teaching, they are not invested in the students' success. They interact very little with students and rarely attend to their needs. And as a result, students who are subject to a permissive teaching style often do not grow either academically or socially in this type of learning environment. And without control or involvement in their classroom, a permissive teacher cannot help the students reach their highest potential. The last one, indulgent classroom management style. This one is very similar to permissive, but for them, they have a low level control. They often live by the philosophy that highly structured classroom hinders students' personal growth and self-esteem. So they allow students to freely express themselves and make their own decisions with no boundaries. This typically results in the students having too much freedom. Unlike permissive teachers, indulgent teachers have a very high level of involvement with their students. Okay, even though they give students the freedom, but they care deeply about what is going on in their students' life, but tend to be too friendly. Consequently, indulgent teachers are generally well liked by the students who feel comfortable talking to them. However, these teachers frequently lose their authority as the students only see them as their friends. So if the teacher wants to punish them, the students will take it as an offense because they see the teacher as their friend. And in addition to caring about their students' personal life, indulgent teachers also care about their students' success, and they do prepare daily lessons. But because of their lack of control and authoritative indulgence, they get forced off track by their students, struggle to directing them. This leads to an unproductive classroom with little learning taking place. So with all the four that we have looked at, now it's up to us. When deciding which of these four different types of classroom management styles is right for you, consider which approach aligns best with your teaching philosophy, your beliefs and strategies, and learning outcome. So if, for example, you're going to teach a new concept, maybe the first one would come in handy because it will go with teacher-centered learning or teaching. If you're going to use student-centered teaching and learning, so it's best to align it with permissive or with authoritative. So you can match the learning style, the teaching strategy, and the classroom management style to suit whatever. So it does not matter if you are jumping from one classroom management style to another, as long as there is teaching and learning and everyone has some control or some organization in place so that learning is happening. So you can use these questions to guide you. What are your goals as a teacher? Why do you want to work with the students? How do you want to be viewed by your students? What happens in a successful learning environment? Where do you want your students to be academically, socially, emotionally by the end of the term or by the end of the year? So choosing the best classroom management style It is important to note that no teacher will constantly fit into just one category. Students are all unique, and different situations call for different practices. However, researchers have demonstrated that the closer a teacher is to an authoritative approach, the greater the impact they have on the students. Classroom management is the most important aspect of a successful classroom, but finding the right balance of control and involvement takes some trial and error. So it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. But you as a new teacher or you as a teacher, take your time to figure out what works best for you. Try different classroom management strategies and see how they impact on your students. Then ask yourself if the strategy impacts students' outcome positively or negatively. Once you yourself as a practicing teacher answer this, then you can focus and use it as an approach to find the right balance. But moreover, for the green, I think you as a more experienced teacher, be sure to take time to reflect on your classroom management style and adjust it as needed. Many teachers don't intentionally choose to be permissive or indulgent, but rather their decisions lead them to lose control of the classroom. So don't let yourself get stuck in your ways with the wrong approach. And I'd like to remind you, it's never too late to change your teaching style to better serve your students. As an experienced teacher, as a good reflective practitioner, whatever we're doing now, if it's not working to the best interest of our learners, make sure that we change that. So here are some ways of establishing classroom management. There are so many of them. I'm just going to talk about 8. The first one is establish a positive classroom environment. Begin lessons by giving clear instructions, maintain student attention, use appropriate pacing, provide suitable seat work, evaluate what has taken place in your lesson, make a smooth transition into the next subject, and develop positive teacher or student relationships. Let's look at the first one in detail. What does it mean when we say establish a positive classroom environment? Make the classroom a blessing and a friendly place. Accept that students come in and they are individuals and they have differences. Learning activities should be cooperative and supportive. Create a non-threatening learning environment. Organize physical space. Eliminate situations that may be dangerous or disruptive. And establish classroom rules and procedures and consistently reinforce them. Just a reminder, when you're setting your classroom rules, make sure that the consequences should be by their side. So if you allow students to eat in the classroom or do not in the classroom, what is the consequence of what will happen if they're eating in the classroom? Or if they're noisy, what is the consequence? So they know exactly that if this happens, this is what will happen. Number 2, begin lessons by giving clear instruction. State desired quality of work. What do you expect your students to be doing? Okay, sometimes it's good to ask them to paraphrase your directions. What did I just tell you? And ask them to repeat it back to you. Ensure that everyone is paying attention. When you are giving out lesson instruction, you should be standing in a place where you're getting everyone's attention. Ensure that all distractions have been removed. If there are toys or other things that they're distracting during your time of instructions, remove them. Describe expectations, activities, and evaluation procedures. If they're going to carry out a research or a writing task, no matter how small it is, make sure that we expect you to complete this by them. These are your activities. This is how you check to make sure that you are doing the right thing. Start with a highly motivating activity, maybe an energizer, or maybe a funny story, anything that will capture and make them feel motivated. And last one, build a lesson upon prior students' knowledge. Before we start anything new, call upon if they have any prior knowledge about what you're about to introduce to them. Maintaining students' attention. As we all know, a human being can only focus for about 5 to a range, depending on age, between 5 to 15 minutes. So it's important that during those moments, we are making sure that we're not preaching, but we are actually teaching and making it exciting. So use random selection in calling upon students. Vary who you call on and how you call on them. Ask questions before calling on a student. Wait at least 5 seconds for a response. Be animated, show enthusiasm and interest. Even if the lesson is not a topic of interest to you, make sure that you are smiling. Right. You are smiling and you're showing an interest, and you explain the purpose or the importance of why they're supposed to be engaged in the topic or the lesson that you are doing. Reinforce students' efforts with praise. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Oh, that is so lovely. Even small minor things that we think that they do not receive praise, make sure that you're praising every single one of them in your classroom. Vary instructional methods. Maybe someday you write the instruction on the board, someday you're talking, someday you're showing it on a slide or on a poster or in a picture. So they have different ways, or you're miming or you're sign languaging. So that is what it means. You vary your instructional methods. Provide work of appropriate difficulty. Make sure that what work you're doing, even if it is difficult, make sure that it's not too much, but just at the appropriate level. Demonstrate and model the types of responses or tasks you want students to perform. Provide guided practice for students, monitor responses, and deliver immediate corrective feedback. Don't wait until the end of the term to start giving feedback. The moment they happen, give it to them when they're due. Be aware of your teaching demo and watch for cues that students are becoming confused, bored, or restless. Sometimes, if need be, the lessons have to be shortened. So when you're teaching, make sure that you're reading your students' reaction as well. Their body language should tell you whether they're hungry or they're feeling sleepy, and you need to stop and do some activities that will wake them up. Number 5, provide suitable seat work. What are the type of activities that they need to be doing while sitting down? Develop procedures for seeking assistance. Have a help signal. You can either have a corner or a mat or whatever. Develop procedures for what to do when finished. Move around to monitor seat work and vary the methods of practice. Number 6, evaluate what has taken place in your lesson. Summarize the lesson and focus on positive gains by students. Use surprise reinforces as a direct result of their good behavior. Determine if the lesson was successful or goals accomplished. So even in our lesson plan, we need to write what is the type of the behavior that we expected students to be displaying during the lesson. Number 7, make a smooth transition into the next subject. Since for primary, we are in the same room, we're teaching one subject to another. Make sure that you have materials ready for the next lesson. Maintain attention of students until you have given clear instructions for the next activity. Do not do tasks that can be done by students, for example, passing out paper or collecting assignments or other things. Use monitors. Move around and attend to individual needs. Provide symbols, step-by-step instructions for some students. Utilize a freeze and lesson signal when necessary. And number 8, develop positive teacher-student relationship. Set a good example and be a positive role model. Create an exciting learning environment for all students. Reward good behavior. Create special activities that children will enjoy doing. Correct misbehaviors. Have consequences of disruptive behavior. Communicate them to students. When you're handling disruptions, do not make sure that the whole class is engaged, because it takes up student working time or your teaching time. Make sure you keep it short and simple. Use a warning signal. Defer disruptive behavior appropriately. Either you have an eye contact or you close the space between the student who is being noisy, or you use your head and hands gestures, help students to be successful, and use plan ignored. So instead of focusing on one who is there, trying to get your attention all the time, maybe bring him or her closer to you while you're teaching the others. So the roles of the learners. So we've talked about the students, the teacher's role. But what are the roles of learners in your classroom that we expected of them? They have to be inquisitive. They have to make sure that they are invited to provide inputs in their classroom rules. And also, what are they accountable in doing? They must come to class ready to participate. And also, we need to make sure that they are responsible. For example, obeying the teachers, they maintain discipline in the classroom, even if the teacher is not there. Who else can help to maintain discipline? Keep the school neat and tidy. It's not only about the classroom, but it's about the whole school as well. Be helpful by clearing the materials after class, abide by the rules of the classroom and the school, participate in the activities organized in the school. They cooperate with other teachers. They can decorate their classroom with charts and posters. But more importantly, we are teaching them to manage themselves responsibly. So shaping students' behaviors to respect their own resources not only mitigates students' misbehavior, but it also builds a supportive classroom community. There are one aspect as well that also comes as part of management of classroom, and that is culture. Culture in general. The culture differences can also play an unconscious role in our expectations of whether a student will succeed, or it's important to reflect on any stereotypes that come upon you. For example, when you're teaching in a multicultural or multi-island schools, it's very easy for people to start pinning that, oh, students from this particular island, this is how they behave, or students from this particular area, this is how they behave. Those are the type of things that we say culture differences. Now, as an open-minded teacher, a reflective practitioner, it's not fair to just look at one single group of learners and start looking at what is not right about them, but rather we should guide them to become better. So culture differences does not equal to culture deficiency. Just because people are living in a particular area, come from a particular island, it doesn't mean that all of them will be branded or labeled that way. If you want good behavior, we should model it. And so treat everyone as the same instead of saying, oh, today I'm only going to allow this group of students to be playing or do whatever. But make sure that you are culture inclusive in your classroom as well. There's another one called the school culture, the hidden curriculum. Even though this is not normally documented, yet it will happen. The moment students step into schools, they know what they are. It's more about safety and orderly. So, Deal and Peterson, they describe it as the culture of an enterprise plays a dominant role in exemplary performances. If you want good students to come out from our schools, we need to keep re-emphasizing what is the vision of the school. Some schools go as far as having their own anthem of the school, or they ask the students to repeat it in assembly. Those are the type of things that we call the school culture. We are fostering effort and productivity. We're improving co-equal and collaborative activities that in turn promote better communication and problem solving, supporting successful change and improving efforts, building commitment and helping students and teachers identify with the school, amplifying energy and motivation of staff members and students. We celebrate birthdays of our students, of our staff who may be going off for studies, or we visit them in the moment of sadness. Those are the type of things that we value our students and our staff. Focusing attention in daily behavior on what is important and what is valued. So instead of dwelling on bad behaviors, we continue to emphasize on good behaviors. So we make sure that it is positive, our vision and values are positive, we make it strong. It's all about alignment. So some schools have generally positive culture, but it focuses on student achievement, but the success is too weak. So we need to think about it that academic is okay, but we want students who both success in academic and behavior-wise as well. It's all about alignment. And this is some of the things that we can do. Celebration ceremonies. We can also make sure that our role modeling are good. We can have storytelling times. We can celebrate when was the school established. We have rules, ethics, formal rules, and syntactic permissions that we involve in the overall running of the school. So our summary of management of learning is simply that all teachers should understand they are not an island on their own. The educational philosophy of the nation and the uniqueness of our schools should be the guiding force behind what takes place in the classroom. The school's code of discipline, which should be fair, responsible, and meaningful, must be reflected in every teacher's classroom management efforts. As a Christian nations, what are our philosophy that we bring from our national to our small classrooms, and how do we guide this every day? The next one, before we emphasize on the management of learning, we as teachers need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our students. Meaning that your health is important, your well-being, your spiritual and social being. You must take care of yourself so that you are modeling those to your students as well. Focus on building relationship with your students, with their parents, with their communities. Once they see that you are part of their communities, they will accept you and you will accept their students. Set rules, you set boundaries and expectations, and make sure you do it clearly. And this should be done right from the beginning of the year, and you continue to emphasize them throughout the year. Take a strength-based approach, meaning that you dwell on what are the good things, the positive things about the students, and involve the parents and the guidance. If there are some behaviors that you cannot manage, you're not an island on your own. Involve your parents, inform them in good time before the child gets out of hand. Otherwise, thank you so much. Again, and that brings us to the end of our major topic 5. More importantly, the end of our session for this semester. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you're still there with me, thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate you all for what you're doing, and especially for this last major topic 5, which is reflective practitioner. My wish is that every one of us as practicing teachers should reflect on how we plan our lessons and how we manage our classrooms so that the students under our care can learn well. So I'm going to stop talking. If you have anything to say, please do so before we end our session for today. Feel free to start talking if you have anything to say. Abraham, Andrew, it's good to see you all. And make sure that you find this slide and download it, because you have the instruction for assignment the last assignment as well that you can follow. Anyone else? Anyone has anything to say before I start closing the meeting on behalf of all of us? And don't worry, as usual, the session is recorded and Mr. Lau will upload it as soon as he edit the recording again. Does anyone has any question or any comment they would like to add before we close for the day? Yes, Miss Troel, Mrs. Troel.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but I would like to say thank you for the presentation. What you have presented, it's all clear, and then we will looking forward for the assignment on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Thelma. Anyone else? Deborah?
Thank you, Mrs. Morris. Apologies for Charity and I. We were trying to connect, but unable to connect until now. And now you've come to an end. But anyway, we'll follow up in the recording if Mr. Lawi posted it later on. So we cannot give any questions or comment. We are just late.
That's okay. I understand your situation. Sometimes the network is not really friendly for some people and being friendly to others, but we don't have any control over that. Just make sure that you follow the session. These are the last ones, and they carry instructions for your final assignments. And I'm hoping that everyone can submit their assignments because I don't want to see anyone failing. Anybody else? Are we all good with our assignments? Not last minute ones? Thursday, and then we'll have people calling to say, oh, my laptop has crashed, or so and so, this is happening. So make sure you spread your time, and you should be doing your assignment and submitting them on the due date. Are we good? Yes, Regina?
Just one question. Thank you very much for the presentation. If we write and it's not really 2,000 words, but it's around 1,900, is it all right, or it has to be 2,000?
I would say add on. If it's slightly over, say, 2,100, it's still okay. But less than 2,000, it's a bit, it's like you are undermining yourself. Okay? So because 2,000 is what we expected, going slightly over, it's okay. 2,500, that's too much. But I would recommend that you add some more. Add another 100. Find some other thinking, some other ideas to add on to 2,000. But bear in mind this does not include your reference list. It's purely your discussion. So your reference list is not part of the 2,000 words. Because they're just a list of items, right? They're a list of names. They're not actually your own creativity. Answer your question, Regina?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more? Any more question in regard to your assignment? Right, if there's no more question, I would encourage you to go to our assessment Moodle page. We have forums for each respective assessment, and you raise your questions there, as well as respond if you know what you're supposed to be doing, but otherwise just simply call me or text me or send me an email to ask for help before it's too late, either for the assignment that it is due this week or the one that is upcoming. But again, I will come in again on Tuesday next week to explain the last assignment and also the following week as well. So make sure that you are joining in these last sessions, especially to help you with your final assessment and submissions. And also I might give out some important announcement for semester 2 enrollment for your cohort. Otherwise, I'm going to stop the recording, but I can give you time